to use rather layman's terms, so that the Mwananchi out there who are wondering, what exactly is this jargon going on, they'll be able to understand. But first of all, we cannot fail to address that the World Cup begins today. So gentlemen, each of you will have to tell me which team you're supporting. We begin with Mheshimiwa. Which team are you supporting today?
Thank you. Unfortunately, I'm not a football fan.
Really?
So I don't belong to any group other than being part of the global euphoria.
Okay, right. That is very honest. That is very honest. Mheshimiwa Makali?
For Africa, I support Ghana. And so up to that point, Ghana will lose. I will be supporting Ghana. And in case they lose, then I will switch to Brazil.
In case they lose?
Yeah, if they don't lose, then all through Ghana.
Okay, and yourself, Mheshimiwa Njagagwa?
I don't want to put my eggs in one basket. For Africa, I'll go for Black Stars, that is Ghana. Then the global village out there, I'll go for Brazil. My second option is Spain. And last three, Germany.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. You should listen to our Samba chat. And Mr. Ashif, which team will you be supporting today?
From the African side, Ghana. Otherwise, I would like England to win, though I'm a Brazilian and a French supporter, but this time I would want England to win the World Cup.
But why are all of you supporting Ghana?
Their game is good. Their flair. I mean, it's the best that we have in Africa.
Okay, then.
It's like the replica of Brazil. Yeah. I would wish that the two met in the finals to make my day.
Then I'll be done because I don't know. I was supporting Ghana even if the two meet.
Right. Okay, then, gentlemen, let's get straight into our discussion today about the budget. And for our viewers, our guiding question is, will the 1.8 trillion be able to reduce the cost of living? Will the 1.8 trillion be able to reduce the cost of living? Do send us your thoughts on the number 20001. We're also on Twitter at K24 TV. Our page on Facebook is K24 TV. And also call us using the numbers at the bottom of your screen. We're also on WhatsApp, rather. The number is, will be put at the bottom of your screens. Now, gentlemen, this is the biggest let me say, amount we've ever had in the country, in the history of Kenya, 1.8 trillion. And there's a lot of expectation on the ground. What do we expect to see today? Let's begin with you, Mr. Ashif.
I think the budget is no more a secret document. It's already been discussed. The issue is not what is in the budget, but how the government will implement what it is saying. I think we have four critical issues. One is the rationalization of the public sector wage bill, which needs to be, brought in control. The second one is improving, service delivery, whether it's in terms of health, education to the public. The third is infrastructure. We have neglected infrastructure for a long time. The last government started it, Jubilee government is carrying on, but we need significant commitment to improving infrastructure. And I think lastly, security. I think everybody is talking about this big word security. And, we are still not clear what is going to happen in terms of bringing, and there are two parts of security. There is the threats from the outside, and then there's the internal security issues, a lot of robberies and things like that need to be addressed. And I think these are the four key issues that the government has to come out very strongly, not only in paper, but, have proper action plans to achieve that.
Right. And also another thing that we need to look at is the slow absorption rate. Now, it's also been said that it's affecting the national and the county government as to how we're going to be developing in different sectors, like you said, infrastructure and the like. So how are we going to make sure that this is, the budget rather will see that, the economic growth is not as slow as it is deemed? We can begin with you, Mr. Muriuki, Mheshimiwa.
Maybe you told us to be, what is it called?
Using
simpler layman's terms.
Yes.
We could go to the highlights of this year's budget. Actually, today is not the budget reading. Today is a budget statement day. That came in the new constitution. What the minister will do is come to the house and read a statement. These are the process that has been going on for almost about the last 6 months. We as members of the budget committee have been meeting sectoral groups who have been forwarding to us their requests and desires. At times we call them wish lists, because at this point in time and with the new constitution, Parliament has now power to make the budget. It's not like before where treasury mandarins will sit in their offices, and then on the D-Day come with a key with that would call a secret, the briefcase. We don't know what is in it, but now it's like you see,
it's no longer a mystery.
It is no longer a mystery. But there are a few highlights of this year's budget. One of them is national recurrent expenditure. This runs to about 654 billion. Then there's national expenditure development, what I was talking about, that is 476 billion. Then we have transferred some monies to the counties, which is coming to 226 billion. Then we have the consolidated fund services, 362 billion. Then there's the equalization fund, that is to go to the counties that are marginalized, which have been marginalized since independence, to bring them to step with other, in quotes, developed counties. That is a 3.4 billion. Then we have some money going to the Parliamentary Service Commission, which is 26 billion. And then some money going to the judiciary, I believe 18 billion. So in total, this comes to 1.78 trillion. So in short, those will be the highlights of today's budget statement.
Right. Yeah. Now, this is to you, Mheshimiwa Makali. You're part of the budget committee as Mheshimiwa Njagagwa is.
Yes.
And, there's a lot of cries from the citizens that we need to reduce the cost of living. Inflation is actually, we can say from the last 5 months, it's been crazy. So exactly, what are you considering right now when it comes to, when you say reducing cost of living, what are you going to look at? What recommendations have you put out so that when the statement will be read today, we'll be able to understand better?
Yeah, thank you. You know, I think to make it very simple for Kenyans, I think a budget is just a statement of intent. This year, the government is saying they intend to spend 1.7 trillion.
1.8.
1.78 trillion.
Okay.
That's actually the actual budget.
Okay.
And the whole issue is that money will be spent in different programs and projects to improve the lives of Kenyans. So at the end of the day, Kenyans expect better life from this budget. I want to take an example of like children who are orphans, who are out of school. They would imagine that out of this budget, they will be able to go to school and settle and study. The elderly who have no pension from the government and who are struggling to survive, expect that through this budget, they will be able to get something for them to survive. But the question you're asking is this budget going to help Kenya in terms of reduce the cost of living? And I think the critical question is, this budget of 1.78 trillion, how are we going to fund it? The budget is about 4 components in terms of funding. First, this budget will be funded through the revenue collection internally. That means Kenyans will have to be taxed. There's an estimation of about 1.06 trillion, which is supposed to be generated internally from Kenyans. So the question is, how do we generate this money? The question is, how do we tax Kenyans? But at the time of taxing them, we ensure that we don't then overburden those who are already disadvantaged in terms of their resources.
Yes.
The other 3 components are loans from our development partners and grants. Then there is what we call the A&A, appropriation in aid. That is, if you go, for example, to Ministry of Land, you pay for the service. The money is generated from that service also goes to fund the budget. That's what we call the A&A. So the question is, how do we balance to make sure, how does the government balance to make sure that even as you tax Kenyans, then you don't make their life worse by taxing them? So I'm not very sure that I would want to say the cost of living will go down, because Kenyans will also need to be taxed to fund this huge budget. And it's like now, you remember the other day we were discussing the VAT, where we were saying through changes in the VAT Act, we actually disadvantaged a number of poor Kenyans. So I think we need very well targeted programs in terms of taxation to make sure that we don't really adversely affect the Kenyans who are already suffering and those who are very low. Because the important question is, even as we implement this budget, and actually I have lots of doubts in terms of implementation, but I think we'll come to that later. Because this has been a statement.
It's very important, and that's the question.
And I like your question about low absorption rates. Because if you look at the history of this country, in terms of development budget, we've always averaged up between 30 and 40. So that means if we have about $500 billion here for development, we can for sure say, because those are statistics, we can for sure say that by the end of the year, we are likely to have spent about 100 billion, or even more so, 150. And the big question is, if we spend such a low amount, then the high figures we are talking about 6.1 growth rate, 6.1% growth rate, they can never be achieved.
And my question is to you. Mheshimiwa said something very interesting, the whole aspect of the implementation, you know, that is now the question on the mouths of many Kenyans. But we have a very big revenue deficit. And at the same time, Kenyans still want to live better, and that's their biggest expectation. So how are we going to merge all this? And please do highlight what Mheshimiwa is saying, the whole aspect of implementation. Are we going to be able to implement this?
Madam, thank you. Budget normally is a decision-making tool in monetary terms. I personally am a bit pessimistic in terms of the growth rate projected, which is pessimistic. It is put at 5.8%. We always talk of an annual economic growth, and on the other hand, the indicators of well-being is so negative, so diminishing. There is increased poverty. The business environment is wanting. Kenyans are the most taxed. I mean, this doesn't relate well with the economic growth. I think if there should be an economic growth, it's for the few, the haves, is those who realize the benefit in expansion of our growth. Right. That aside, implementation has always been poor. We have always been presenting plans that are poorly implemented.
And what has been the problem year in, year out?
I think corruption is one key thing. Tenders want to be predetermined. That's why we have so much litigation in courts, actually raising the cost of doing business. You can remember the Jubilee Manifesto has been to provide laptops to primary schools. That was not realized in the last financial year. It has been factored in. Where is it? Where are the laptops? The standard gauge is also in crisis. If you look at the Safaricom security issue, I think it is an aspect of transparency and accountability is stipulated in the Constitution. Unless the tendering process is such that it is well managed, then we will always be ending up in courts fighting cases while Kenyans are waiting for service delivery. So it's about, are we patriotic to ensure that the laws are made, or do we have laws just merely on papers? So it's about, do our budgets deliver the required outputs? Unless they deliver the outputs, then the economic growth so expected is just cosmetic, and I'm sure that's why Kenyans will become poorer, and service delivery will not be realized. So it's an issue of, do we really implement our budgets? Okay. Are there mechanisms to make sure that the outputs are realized? What should 1.7 trillion mean in terms of outputs? So I don't think there are those mechanisms. Everybody is at speed to make sure that money is spent without regard to actual outputs. That aside, still, this year's budget have some good things, especially for me, a pastoralist. For the first time, a good amount of money has been dedicated to the development of leather. Livestock has been given for the first time good amounts of money, some 5 billion. Irrigation agriculture is one thing also that has been well funded. We have to be food secure, and I think along that direction there can be some good news for the hungry Kenyans. But that aside too, look at, we are talking of, we are expecting El Nino, and thereafter this is already, we did not get good rains. And NDMA is not funded, National Drought Management Authority. Do we have a kitty for disaster? Tomorrow it will be El Nino. All that we have been investing in our roads will be washed away. Do we have a contingency plan? Okay. These are issues we must...
Right. Just hold on to that. Mr. Ashif, this is to you. Do you believe that this government is committed to reducing the cost of living? He said something interesting in the fact that we've had budgets, of course, year in, year out, but one thing that has always been a challenge for the country is implementation. So this particular financial year, what will be the difference? What will make a difference right now?
I don't see the budget reducing the cost of living. Okay, the inflation, even within the government's own estimates, is going to remain at about 7.5% in the next year. The important thing is, what are we doing from the money that is coming out from tax? Are we putting it to productive use? Okay, and that is where the challenge is. One, we need to improve public service delivery. Okay, today it's very difficult to get service out of any government organization. You have to queue, you have to wait. They are trying to do some things in lands, they are trying to do some things at the register of companies. But even today, it takes at least 10 days to register a business name. And this is as of yesterday, whatever the registrar is saying, it's taking 10 days to register a business name. So the issue is, do we improve public service? Do we improve the basic social amenities to people, transport, security, health, and education? I think those are the 4 keys. And that can only be improved if we have a good, lean, and a mean government infrastructure. And the problem currently is the infrastructure that we have. We have the old national government system. We have the new national county government system. It's all been mixed together. We have never rationalized jobs. We are creating a very high level of government per approximately there is 41 million people in this country. There are 47 counties. So apart, if you take in the very large counties like Nairobi, Mombasa, the other counties, some of them even have less than 400,000-500,000 people in a county, yet they have a full government. Are we rationalizing the infrastructure? Are we scaling up the infrastructure for different counties to deliver this service?
So what can we learn from the previous financial year that, I mean, okay, I know already it's been done, but that we can change right now, because the structure of even the county governments has been a very, thorny issue for a while now. What can they do?
I think the only thing we can learn is not within East Africa, but the only place where a devolved system has worked very well has been Gujarat in India with Narendra Modi. And what he did, he took a business approach to running the government. He paid people well, but he reduced the number of people. He created an efficiency structure where if you were not being provided service, you had a line of escalation. And if your issue was escalated, it was not the guy who didn't serve you that was held responsible. It was the ultimate line manager who was asked, why did this issue have to be escalated to me? Okay? And we need to take a very business-like structure in servicing people and using the money that we have well.
Okay. You have something
Can
to
I just
say?
say something?
Just hold on.
Just
gentlemen.
wanted to add, you asked why are we not implementing what has been planned in the budget. I think the issue is the national government is trying to duplicate what is supposed to be devolved. Devolution
To duplicate.
There are duplication. Look at, for instance, in this budget, the national function for agriculture is about policy making. You will realize that they have colossal amounts of money to implement at the national level. Agriculture is a devolved function. Look at health. The national function for health is about policy and the management of the national referral institutions. Exactly that. But what is happening? You will see they have colossal amounts of money too, billions, running into billions, to implement at the national level. That should have been devolved. The work of the national government is to achieve its national mandate while ensuring that it develops the standards for quality service delivery and oversighting the county government. Unfortunately, it's like 2 parallel governments. Each one wants to show its worth. Whereas we are in one government, they would have passed this baggage and ensure that the devolved functions implement the budget. That would have been a better thing.
Is it because of the wrangles we are seeing in the counties, the governors and all those things, with some functions not being fully devolved to the counties?
I looked at the budget and most of the functions have been, on paper, they have been devolved. Like on agriculture, paper, yes. Over 90% have been devolved. When it comes to water, 90% have been devolved too.
What about health?
Even health. Actually, health is the one that has been devolved in a big way. But why should the national government struggle implementing what has been devolved? They should give the money to the devolved units and make sure that quality is attained. Provide the necessary checks, do the oversighting, and I'm sure we would have implemented the budget.
Yeah,
let me say something. I think I haven't said anything for a while.
There's this thought that the Jubilee government is not a wananchi-friendly government, in the sense that the rate of inflation is very high, and all these things that are happening, that the wananchi is crying that they're really being squeezed, everything that's happening. So. The question is, like what the Rachel is saying. Let me just read to you this. Rotitia's dilemma as he seeks to raise cash and reduce cost of living.
From where I stand, and I'll tell you this for truth, and Makali can vouch for that. This is the best budget that has ever been done in Kenya.
The biggest in the history of
No,
Kenya
no,
also.
the best. That is mwananchi friendly.
Okay.
One thing, the government has come in to cushion the vulnerable groups. We're having about 4 billion to go to the disadvantaged children, those who are orphans, the aged. Now, the issue comes to the at the point of delivery, service delivery by civil servants. We need to change that. We need to change their mindset that they are here to serve Kenyans, but not to make profits. We can have this statement made even from heaven, but when it comes to our civil servants, they don't follow it to the letter. It's even on record from the minister, from the CS of National Treasury, that a third of this budget goes to waste. Why should a third of 1.78 trillion go to waste? That's about 700 billion.
And as to why does that happen? That's the question.
Because the civil servants are not willing to work, or if they are working with their own personal interest, not the common man.
And is that the mandate
interest
of the people in power
now,
to make sure that doesn't happen?
You see now with the devolved systems, like we've talked about health, it is a devolved function, that we know. But as late as of yesterday, look at that headline, MPs clash over funding of level 5 hospitals. The governors are saying we cannot now be able to run level 5 hospitals.
We'll take a look at that.
All right? We want to take them back, let the national government fund them. If you look at the constitution, if you are ceding part of a function, like the governors want to cede back the level 5 hospitals, you must cede that function together with the funds for running it. Now they want to retain the money for the level 5 hospitals and then push the baby to the national government to run it. And we are saying no. You want to cede this service? Let it come with its corresponding funds. Then we'll be able to run it. So my view is that we need to change the entire mindset of our Kenyan civil servants.
Okay.
Number two. Before I step down, it is the issue of who is the chief executive of this country. It is Mheshimiwa Uhuru Kenyatta. So in as much as you cede functions to the county governments, the buck stops with the president. So the national government must retain some cash to run those services. Yes.
Right. And as Mr. Ashif said, that it's how we're going to implement, rather it's the taxes, what are we going to do after we get them? So if it is the responsibility of the executive, and if the executive has identified all this, then what we do expect is that we don't need to see what has been happening in the past with the issue of the budget. Are we really going to see that if you leaders have already identified that?
Let me just explain this issue to Kenyans, and I think I want to
I
simplify
understand you have a phone
it.
call, Mheshimiwa. Just hold on. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Nasema hivi, hii budget ni ya 1 trillion. Inaonekana ya kwamba
Endelea tafadhali.
Isiwe na corruption. Na ikikosa kuwa na corruption itakuwa nzuri na itashughulikia mpaka mwananchi wa kawaida. Thank you. I'm from Nakuru.
Sasa, nashukuru.
Yeah, let me simplify this issue to Kenyans.
Okay.
Kenyans do remember that last year, the same budget we are discussing today, was 1.5 trillion. And I think the problem we have with this country, and which I think we need to address, and which the government must address, is I would expect today, before the CS, National Treasury, presents this year's budget, you should be able to tell Kenyans, last year you gave me 1.5 trillion. This is what I've achieved with that budget. That's the whole issue of what we call monitoring and evaluation. When you look at the current budget, we've made a decision as Kenyans to move from what we used to call just what we call program-based budgeting. What that means is, out of this budget, 1.8 trillion, we should be able to tell Kenyans, out of this budget this year, in the road sector, we'll be able to do for you 1,000 kilometers tarmac, 100,000 kilometers graded roads. So that come the end of the year, Kenyans will be able to ask the government, have you done what you told us you'll do? You realize that in this budget, one of the issues which is not coming out clear.
And are those platforms used?
Yeah.
You know, the question is
Yeah.
that because we're always being told this is a free government, you can come, put your leaders to task. But when the wananchi come and tell the leaders that, this and this is not being done, how well is that information received?
Now that's where I want to come to. So you realize, like, forget even about the wananchi. Talk about us, who are leaders and members of parliament. We have demanded, as a budget committee, that we need to see clear outputs and targets in this budget. As we are discussing this budget, that area is still not fully addressed. And we have a whole unit.
Today's D-Day.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you find that this is what we are saying. These are some of the areas we are saying this government, which is the Jubilee government, has to do things differently if Kenyans have to benefit out of this budget. For example, let's talk about the whole issue of corruption. If you read the report of the Controller and Auditor General last year, actually this year, he has said that from the last year's budget, about 300 billion could not be fully accounted for. It was either misdirected or Kenyans did not get value for that kind of money.
Yes.
So the question is, at the same time, my friend Muriuki here, the Jubilee leader, the leader who is the president, said, in my office, the office of the president, I know they are corrupt individuals. My expectation would have been the following day to say I've sacked so and so, I've sacked Muriuki, I've sacked Ashraf here, because they are corrupt. And the reason I've done that is I want my government to be clean, so that the 300 billion we are talking about is used for Kenyans. The other issue is the issue of exchequer release. In simple terms, when we have a budget, what would happen is every month the government releases money to the departments to implement. You realize, I want to give you a very good example, Weso Fund. It was in the last budget, 6 billion for the youth of this country and the mothers of this country. And the whole idea was, if they use this money well, they will be able to create employment and improve their own life.
Okay.
What has happened? Just very quickly, what has happened is we are talking today. We have actually not dispersed Weso Fund to any Kenyan. What has happened? This
is very dangerous as we have a budget statement. It's very dangerous.
We are creating handles.
Ashif will tell us that analysis, but this will bring to mind this particular question. They say the budget process is a political one. And there's a lot happening in the country in terms of politics, insecurity. Is that affecting the budget? But before you answer, Mheshimiwa, we have a phone call. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Hello?
How are you?
Hello.
Good morning. How are you?
Yes, good morning. I'm very much okay. How are you?
My name is Dan.
Yes, Dan.
I'm calling from Nairobi. Now, we have a budget of 1.7 trillion.
Yes.
One thing that I'm seeing why viewers are not serious about, we haven't been told the 1.5 trillion that was allocated, we talked about last year, where it went to. So you see, the idea of giving out figures is good, but we should be able to see those figures as having an effect to the kawaida mwananchi. When you talk about a budget of 1.7 trillion, and on the other side, the cost of living is going up every other single day, then it means that budget has nothing to do with the common mwananchi. I mean, one thing, the government has to tell us how it's going to fund this budget of 1.7 trillion, because we know we collect in form of taxes less than 1 billion. Where are they going to get this money from? Are they going to get it from Wananchi in form of taxes? And if that's the case, are they going to increase taxes to Wananchi? What is the government doing to bring down the cost of living? Now, this idea of members of parliament trying to tell Kenyans this is one of the best budgets. We had one that was said last year, it was the best budget, and the cost of living is going up every other single day. Is a gimmick, and the members of parliament have to be serious about Kenyans. I mean, wananchi yule wa kawaida, mama yule anauza omena pale mtaani, mwenye ananunua unga pale mtaani, anataka kujiuliza kama kuna budget mzuri imereduce unga kutoka shilingi 130 ikaleta shilingi 100, kama kuna maziwa bei imepunguka ama haijapunguka. Kwa hivyo don't tell us about the best budget that is not going to have an impact on kawaida mwananchi. Thanks a lot.
Let me make a comment on that.
I need this professional
Just a minute. Maybe we need to respond to that. When we sit as a house to make this budget or to prepare this budget, I'm certain every single member of parliament put their best foot forward. And a member who is here with me, Makali, will tell you that. It's not a matter of this is CORD, this is Jubilee. We have the best interest of this country at heart. That is why we've put in, I believe, so many hours as a budget committee to come up with this public document. But one thing is, we are not the implementers. It's not the members of parliament who are not serious. We do it. The CS and his team.
Then whose mandate is it?
It is the mandate of the civil servants.
The executive, which is the government.
You know, the government. And that is why now we have to come in to play our oversight role. But the bureaucratic landscape is so high and so slow that even to catch up with these civil servants.
Then who will keep them in check?
I think
it's oversight.
Yeah, it's really the president as a CEO needs to set the example, and his cabinet. We have to restructure the civil service. We have 18 months to do that, because after that we have lost the opportunity. Okay, if we cannot do and restructure the civil service where it's user friendly, you know, a budget's aim is not to reduce the cost of living. Okay, the question that was raised is, what do we need to spend? We really need to spend 1.8 billion. But from that, a big chunk, nearly 500 billion, is going to development, which we have ignored for nearly 30 years in this country's history. Okay? We need to develop our infrastructure. So that is money going to be well spent, provided it's properly procured. The second part is, we need to structure our public service so that we reduce the wage bill or maintain the wage bill at the same level, but increase the efficiency. I have no problem in a chief executive being paid 1 million shillings, okay, if he's doing the work. And he should not be paid even 5,000 bob if he's not doing the work. I think accountability at civil service is going to be critical. And the third part, you know, which is very critical in achieving this, is yes, we are looking at 1 billion shillings in taxation. We should have a realistic target. You cannot kill the hen that lays the golden egg. If you're going to overtax, okay, you will increase the parallel economy. Okay, so even taxation has to be brought in a check at a level that is conducive. And if the government wants to really drive this economy from a public sector point, restructure it, make it efficient. From a private sector, create an enabling environment that makes Kenya an effective investment destination. People are not frustrated, you know, when they are investing in Kenya.
Okay.
And I think those are the two underlying.
Just quickly on
Let me give him a chance to speak.
You asked on security, on as to whether...
Please highlight the issue of politics.
Politics.
That's what I wanted to talk about.
Okay. Right, you also contribute.
I believe this is a political government, and anything that is done by the executive, by the national government, has that political inclination. For sure, public participation is a requirement in our constitution.
Just hold on. Hello, good morning. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, good morning.
Hello.
Hello, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, good morning. Go ahead.
No, I'm a viewer from Moroni. I'm out.
Yes.
So I just want to make a comment regarding the discussion that's going on in the budget in 214. I'm looking at the discussion that is going on.
Yes.
But I just want to register my disappointment with what is being said by Lindsay there. Actually, the picture that is being created is that even with the budget of 1.7 trillion, what we are likely to experience is, as alleged, that the civil servants are the ones that are pilfering on our finances. Meaning that we are not going to achieve much. Therefore, it's actually useless to have this kind of budget, whereas we are going to have the same kind of losses being experienced by the government that cannot take care of our funds. Therefore, I just want to say that I'm very, very disappointed to hear this kind of argument that the civil servants are to blame. While we have actually appointed them to take care of our funds. This is very disappointing, and that's what I can say.
Right. Thank you very much.
And it should take this complaint to to the president, who is the CEO, that it's very unfortunate for him to say that, while the president cannot even sack one person out of the ones that he claimed to have actually mismanaged the funds. It's very disappointing.
Okay.
You know, I'll take that head on. A minute, Makali. There was a special audit report by the Auditor General on the judiciary, which, as we speak, was being discussed yesterday and the day before. It's all in the papers. The judiciary has misappropriated 2.2 billion.
Yes.
All right? That is in the public knowledge. Now, what are we going to do as MPs? The report comes to us.
The executive must take.
The report comes to us. We put them to task. Now, look at the position of even sacking the former chief registrar. It has dragged on in court. So we must agree that at some point, the axe has to fall. Let Mutunga act on the judiciary and his staff. They were getting 80,000 shillings per sitting allowance. Well, they ought to be getting about 10. Even those people who are not commissioners of the Judicial Service Commission were getting 80,000 shillings per sitting allowance. And they would meet for about 3 times a day. Surely, when we, the oversight of Parliament is after the event. It is not before the event.
Right.
So we are doing, under the circumstances, we are doing the best. And now it is the job now is before the Chief Justice. Your people have made an error.
Okay.
Can you